Do you want to change your life? You don't need to move across the world, quit your job, or wait until January 1st. You don't need a complete overhaul. What you need, what actually works, is small, consistent action. I'm talking about tiny habits, things so small they almost feel insignificant. But here's the truth: most people miss small habits are not small in impact. They're the foundation of real lasting change. If you want a better life, start small, because small habits, when done daily, create big shifts. Let's talk about what actually happens in your brain when you start a new habit. Your brain is like a trail through the woods. Every time you think a thought, every time you take an action, it's like walking down a path. The more often you walk that path, the clearer and easier it becomes to follow. But if you want to change, if you want to start a new habit, that means blazing a new trail at first. It's going to be hard, it's uncomfortable. You're stepping through brush, maybe getting scratched up a bit. But if you keep walking that path, even a little every day, eventually, that trail becomes clear. It becomes your new normal. This is what scientists call neuroplasticity. You are literally reshaping your brain one small step at a time. And the best part, you don't need to feel motivated, you just need to act. Most people sit around waiting for some lightning bolt of inspiration. I'll start when I feel ready. News flash: you're never going to feel ready. Change doesn't wait for you to feel like it. That's why small habits are so powerful. They sidestep the whole motivation trap. They're so simple, so doable, that you can do them even when you're tired, even when you're stressed, even when life is throwing curveballs. Think about brushing your teeth. It's such a small part of your day, right? But it's non-negotiable. You don't think about it, you don't debate it, you just do it. What if drinking a glass of water every morning was like that? What if moving your body for 5 minutes a day was automatic? What if writing down one thing you're grateful for was just part of who you are? These habits don't seem like much on their own, but when done daily, they compound. It's like compound interest for your mind. Set your energy, your confidence. Here's the kicker: small habits build trust. Every time you follow through, even on the tiniest action, you're proving something to yourself. You're saying, hey, I can count on me. And when you start to believe that, when you start to trust yourself, everything changes. Your confidence grows, your self-respect skyrockets, and suddenly bigger changes don't feel so scary anymore. You start to believe that yes, you really can do this. That's the power of starting small. This isn't just motivational fluff, it's backed by science. Psychologists have shown that consistent behavior, no matter how small, leads to long-term habit formation. James Clear talks about this in Atomic Habits. And it's something I preach all the time. Focus on systems, not just goals. Instead of saying, I want to lose 20 pounds, create a system where you move your body every day. Instead of saying, I want to write a book, commit to writing for 10 minutes a day. Small habits anchor your goals into reality. They give your dreams a daily to-do list. And let's be real, life gets messy. You'll get sick, you'll have bad days, you'll face setbacks. But small habits are resilient because they're manageable. You don't have to overhaul your entire life to stay on track. You just return to the basics: one push-up, one page, one mindful breath. That's all it takes to keep moving forward. So if you want to change your life in the next 21 days, don't focus on doing more, focus on doing less, but doing it consistently. One small shift practice daily can ripple through your entire identity. The most successful people you admire, they don't rely on giant leaps, they rely on the magic of repetition. You have that same power, remember. Small habits, big shifts. That's the truth, that's the way forward, and it starts right now with one small action. Let's go. There's a common myth out there that it takes 21 days to build a habit, but here's what most people miss: the 21-day time frame isn't a finish line, it's a foundation. It's not about becoming perfect in 21 days, it's about beginning the process of rewiring your brain so that the change sticks. What actually happens during those 21 days is more important than the number itself. This is the window where you're laying down new neural connections, you're interrupting old patterns and starting to create new ones. And the most important ingredient in this process isn't motivation, it's consistency. Let's break this down. Your brain is a pattern machine. It loves predictability. It's designed to conserve energy by repeating what it already knows. So every time you get up and scroll your phone first thing in the morning, or skip the workout, or grab the same junk food when you're stressed, that's your brain running on autopilot. These are deeply wired loops. And if you want to break them, You've got to interrupt the pattern. That's what the first 21 days are for. There, your chance to say, hold up, I'm not doing this the old way anymore. Now here's the thing, you don't need to feel motivated during those 21 days. In fact, expecting to feel motivated is one of the biggest mistakes people make. Your brain isn't going to want to change, it's going to resist, it's going to make excuses. I'm too tired, this won't make a difference, I'll start tomorrow. That's your brain trying to drag you back to what's familiar, even if it's not working for you. So, what do? You show up anyway. You make the action so small, so manageable, that you can't say no. You drink that one glass of water, you write down one goal, you stretch for 5 minutes, and then you do it again the next. That's where the magic starts to happen. Because when you do something every single day, even something small, your brain starts to take notice. It starts to say, oh, we're doing this now. And slowly but surely the new behavior gets coded in. It becomes easier, more natural, less of a fight. This is the process of habit formation. And yes, the 21-day mark is important, but only if you've been consistent. It's not about ticking off a calendar. It's about showing up with intention and repetition. Think about it like training a muscle. If you go to the gym once and expect to be fit, you're going to be disappointed. But if you go every day for 3 weeks, even for just 10 minutes, you'll start to feel stronger. You'll start to move differently. That's exactly what happens with your mental and behavioral habits. The repetition builds resilience, it builds identity. You're not just doing something different, you're becoming someone different. And here's what's really powerful: once you hit that 21-day mark, momentum kicks in. You don't want to break the streak. You start to feel proud of yourself. You start to realize, I can do hard things, I can keep promises to myself. That internal shift, that's more valuable than any external result. Because when you believe in your ability to change, you unlock a new level of power. A new version of yourself starts to emerge. But let's be clear, it's not always going to be pretty. You're going to have days where you want to quit, days where you mess up. That's normal, that's human. The goal isn't perfection, the goal is to keep going, to get back up, to recommit. That's why the 21-day period is so crucial. It teaches you discipline, not just desire. It builds consistency, not just short-term effort. And those are the exact qualities that carry over into every area of your life, your career, your relationships, your health, your mind set. So if you want to create real change, don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait to feel ready. Start now. Pick one small action. Do it today, then do it again tomorrow. Don't look ahead to day 21. Focus on day 1, then 2, then 3. Stack the days like bricks, one by one, and you'll build something unshakable. The truth is, 21 days can change your brain, but only if you show up with intention, with repetition, and with grace for yourself when it gets hard. That's how habits are born. That's how lives are changed, one day at a time, one action at a time. You've got this. Keep going. Most people wait for motivation to strike before they take action. They say things like, I'll start going to the gym when I feel more energized, or I'll launch that project when I feel inspired. But here's the truth: motivation is unreliable, it's fleeting, it comes and goes like the weather. If you're depending on motivation to change your life, you'll be waiting forever. That's why you have to stop chasing motivation and start building momentum instead. Momentum is what actually moves you forward. It's what creates progress. And the most beautiful part, you don't need to feel like it to begin. Let me explain the science behind it. Your brain has a part called the basal ganglia. That's the control center for your habits. When you take an action, even a small one, your brain starts firing neurons in a pattern. Do that action again tomorrow, and those neurons fire again. Eventually, your brain wires those patterns into automatic behaviors. This is how habits form, not from feeling inspired, but from repeating simple actions. And once you've taken the first step, your brain shifts gears. You go from thinking about it to doing it. That's when momentum takes over. You know this feeling. Already think about a time you didn't want to go for a run, but you forced yourself to put on your shoes and walk out the door. 5 minutes in, your body warmed up, your mind cleared, you felt good. That wasn't motivation, that was momentum. You started moving, and the movement carried you forward. Or maybe you sat down to write, and the first few sentences felt like pulling teeth, but then your mind got in a rhythm, and the words started to flow. That's momentum. It's a force you create by simply beginning. This is why small habits are so powerful. They're frictionless. They don't give your brain time to negotiate or procrastinate. And once you've started, even just for 2 minutes, you're much more likely to keep going. It's called the Zeigarnik effect. Psychologists discovered that once a task is started, your brain becomes almost obsessed with finishing it. It hates open loops, so starting is the secret sauce, not finishing. Starting. Mel Robbins talks about this in her 5-second rule. When you have an instinct to act on a goal, you must move within 5 seconds, or your brain will kill the idea. That pause, that hesitation, is where your old habits, your doubts, your fears creep in. But if you move quickly, if you interrupt that pattern, you gain control. You bypass the mental chatter. That's not motivation, that's strategy. It's how you use momentum to beat procrastination and self-doubt. And here's something else. Momentum builds confidence. Every time you take action, no matter how small, you prove to yourself that you're capable. You stack wins, and those wins compound. You start to see yourself differently. You're no longer someone who wants to change, you're someone who is changing. And that identity shift, that's everything. It makes showing up easier tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. People often ask, how do I stay consistent? The answer is stop aiming for motivation and start creating motion. Set a ridiculously small goal and do it daily. Read 1 page, drink 1 glass of water, meditate for 1 minute. These micro habits are like kindling for a fire. They seem small, but they catch quickly. And once they're lit, you can build on them. You add a few minutes, you expand the habit. But the key is to start. Always start. Life isn't going to slow down for you to feel ready. It's going to keep moving. So you have 2 choices: wait for the perfect moment that never comes, or build momentum with what you have right now, even if you're tired, even if you're uncertain, especially when you don't feel like it, because that's when it counts the most. Momentum isn't magic, it's just math. You show up today, and you do a little more tomorrow. Progress over perfection, effort over excuses. And the next thing you know, those tiny steps have added up. You look back and realize you've changed. You didn't wait for it, you created it. So stop waiting, start moving. Momentum is your best friend. Let it carry you. Change doesn't happen because you want it, it happens because you decide to become someone new. And the way you become that new version of yourself is through the habits you build. Every time you repeat a small action, you're not just doing something different, you're reinforcing a new identity. You're telling your brain, this is who I am now. That's the real secret to transformation. It's about casting votes for the person you want to be. Every habit is a vote. Every repetition counts. Let's say you want to become someone who is healthy. You don't get there by running a marathon tomorrow or cutting sugar overnight. You start by drinking a glass of water first thing in the morning. You prepare 1 healthy meal. You go for a 10-minute walk. That's it. It might not look like much, but every time you make that small choice, you are becoming that healthy person. You're training your brain to identify with that version of you. And the more consistent you are, the stronger that identity becomes. This is what most people get wrong. They think identity follows success, when in fact success follows identity. You don't achieve your goal and then become confident. You build confidence by showing up again and again, even in small ways. You prove yourself that you are disciplined, that you are reliable, that you keep your promises. And guess what? Your brain starts to believe it. It starts to say, okay, this is who we are now. That shift in identity is the real engine of lasting change. And the best part, this isn't just theory, it's how your brain is wired. Neuroscience shows us that behavior and identity are linked. Every time you act in alignment with your desired identity, you're strengthening the neural pathways that support that behavior. You're making it easier to act that way again tomorrow. It's like laying bricks, 1 habit, 1 action, 1 brick at a time. Eventually, you build a foundation so strong that it becomes your default setting. Now, of course, it's not always going to be easy. There will be days when your old identity fights back, when you hear that voice in your head saying, this isn't you, you've always been lazy, you've always quit, you've never followed through. And that's exactly why habits matter so much, because they're your evidence, they're your receipts. You can look that voice in the eye and say, actually, I did show up. I have been consistent. I'm not who I used to be. That's power. That's how you silence self-doubt, not with affirmations, but with action. Think about someone who writes every day, even just 1 sentence. That person is a writer, not because they published a book, but because they write. Someone who exercises every day, even for 5 minutes, is an athlete, not because of their body, but because of their commitment. The action defines the identity, and the identity fuels the next action. It's a loop that builds momentum, confidence, and clarity. That's how you make change stick. And let's be honest, this is not about being perfect. This is about persistence. You don't need to execute the habit flawlessly every single day. What matters is that you keep coming back. You miss a day, fine, you pick it back up. Because every time you return to the habit, you reinforce your identity. You say, I may have slipped, but this is still who I am. That resilience is part of your growth. It's part of becoming someone new. This is why small habits are so underrated. People overlook them because they don't create instant results. But that's not the point. The point is to start acting like the person you want to become. You want to be more disciplined. Start setting your alarm and getting out of bed. When it rings, you want to be more focused. Start putting your phone away. When you work, you want to be more grateful. Write down one thing every night that you're thankful for. These actions seem minor, but their identity shaping their proof. So, if you're serious about changing your life, stop focusing on the finish line. Start focusing on your identity. Who do you want to become? What does that version of you do every day? And how can you start doing one of those things today? That's the blueprint. That's how real transformation begins, not in some dramatic moment, but in the quiet decision to act differently, to show up as your future self, to cast a new vote. Change your habits, change your identity, change your identity, change your life. It's that simple and that powerful.